Hey guys, Vlad Moldavskiy here from MeetAdvisors.com. I'm joined with Brendan Stith and Cody Dunifon from MidlandIRA. How are you guys today?
Good, how are you?
Doing lovely.
Thanks for joining us. Before we start anything, I want to apologize. We had these guys here about a month and a half ago, and we had some technical difficulties. So I'm very excited to have them back here and tell us about the business a little.
Yeah, so at MidlandIRA, we deal with self-directed IRAs. And what that is probably something a lot of people haven't heard about. It's anything that's a private investment. So, we run similar to Fidelity, Morgan Stanley, with the sense that we have online access. We deal in the retirement industry, any type of IRA, 401k, all that good stuff. But where we differ is we hold the private investments. So, that being said, it's anything from real estate to investing into a private company, private placement, hedge funds, raw land, anything like that. That's where we focus, and those are the kinds of assets that the normal companies like Morgan Stanley and them, they won't hold those. So that's kind of where we differ.
That's something really interesting. Do you mind going into that a bit further with, real estate investments, or let's say I have a startup and I'm looking for, startup capital. What's the process? I understand you can, invest the money. You can go to someone with an IRA and you can take that money, you can invest into a business, but how does it look on their end, and what benefits are they getting, and obviously subsequently what benefits am I getting, or what benefits is the entrepreneur getting?
Well, the benefits to the investor is that they're able to use those dollars inside of an old IRA, old 401k, invest in something that they know and understand better. A lot of times people feel like they are kind of trapped in the stock market with their IRA, and that's just not true. In terms of the process, let's say that you are selling real estate, or you're trying to raise funds for some sort of startup company, venture capital, whatever it may be, and you meet Cody, who has $100,000 in his IRA, but doesn't realize that he can take it out of the stock market and put it into something that he feels like might be a better opportunity for him, that's more suitable to him. So what he would do, let's say he's got an IRA at Fidelity, Schwab, Morgan Stanley, not to pick on any of them, but just your standard brokerage. They would open an account with a company like Midland, who does a self-directed account, transfer those funds from Morgan Stanley to or Fidelity or Schwab or wherever it may be to Midland, and then direct an administrator like Midland to go and buy that real estate from you, to buy that equity interest from you, or whatever it may be. So it benefits the investors in that they're able to keep their IRA dollars tax deferred, they're able to make money without paying tax along the way, and it benefits professionals that are raising money because they're able to get access to more dollars.
Here's an interesting question, because I didn't know a lot about IRAs before I talked to you. Quite frankly, I still don't know, and a lot of our viewers and a lot of people just don't know about it,
right?
Especially a lot of young guys. What is the process like? So I go to my grandfather, and he has $100,000 in his IRA, and he invests into my business, and in a year I bring him $125K. Does the $25K profit have to stay in that fund, or can he take it out? How does it work?
Well, there's a couple parts to that question. The first part is who's involved in the transaction, and the second part is where do the gains go. I'll answer the first part first, and that is, if you're talking with your grandfather, there are certain parties, if it's your deal, if it's your company, there's certain parties that you're not able to transact with, that the IRS doesn't want you to do business with their IRA. Your family would be one of them. So it would need to be a friend, or maybe a family friend, but it really can't be your spouse, yourself, that sort of thing. So I'll kind of put that out there first and foremost. Second of all, let's say he takes that $100,000 in his Midland IRA, or in his self-directed IRA. He's got $100,000 that maybe he's lent to the investment manager. Maybe he's purchased equity. Let's say he makes a $25,000 gain. All that $25,000 has to go back into the IRA. All the benefits from that IRA have to go back into the IRA. It can't go anywhere else.
Makes sense. Why this industry? What made you both, maybe you can both speak on this, but what made you enter this industry? What about it excites you, and what keeps you motivated to continue and, build your business?
Well, I think from my perspective, in terms of starting a business and building a business, the thing that has made this successful for us is that we're in a niche industry. And we are kind of subject matter experts in something that most people aren't. and that's really cool. It's also challenging because not a lot of people know about it, but it's really cool when you see all the successes that people have in it, and it makes it easier for us. Frankly, we're just really good at this one thing, part of the market. Everybody else may have their own expertise, but this is ours, so that's why we've really stuck to it. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, kind of how I got into it is it was kind of just really random. I saw a self-directed IRA, and I was, well, what is that? I grew up with a finance background and retirement planning, and had no clue what it was. Looked into it. Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities there because only about 2% of IRAs are self-directed, and there's trillions of dollars in IRA funds. So there's really a lot of opportunity out there. But in our sense, where we face the problems and the battles is no one knows you can do it.
Right.
So we're in a really educational role, and more so just promoting the idea of a self-directed IRA, and then it gets people thinking because it allows you to get very creative with the type of investments.
Right.
What kind of challenges have you seen along the way in growing your business, and then how have you adapted to those challenges and outgrown them?
Well, I think I just kind of reiterate I will say it time and time again. Our biggest challenge in our own business is not we don't have a lot of competitors. We do have some competitors, but a lot of times, if you're a mortgage broker or you're some sort of brokerage company or a realtor, there's a lot of competitors. You have a lot of people doing the same thing you're doing. We don't have a lot of competitors, so that's not really as much of a challenge as much as just getting awareness. And we spread awareness through working with professionals, through working with CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors. And so our challenge is, as a smaller industry, the self-directed IRA industry is pretty small. Really kind of getting the word out there. So that's been our biggest challenge, and we've just done that by going to as many networking events as possible, being as part of associations, groups, and being really locally involved. And I know that's something Cody does. It's just going to all the real estate investor organizations, any sort of professional organizations, and really being involved in the community and being a resource, being a go-to for this particular segment. So if someone comes to, if you're a professional and client comes to you and says, I heard I could buy real estate and IRA in the Wall Street Journal, but I don't know who to turn to. Oh, I met this guy Cody. So that's how we overcome that particular challenge.
So it really comes down to educating.
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to just sell something.
Exactly.
What do you think? First off, with marketing and digital landscape changing, constantly, what do you think the biggest thing for you to keep in your mind moving forward? How do you plan to continue to educate, not just local, but eventually maybe national?
Right. Well, I think that's something that we're really looking towards. As we've grown over the last 10 years, we've really focused in the Chicagoland area, but really we've started to build relationships all over the country and some even around the world. And sometimes they have needs that are outside of Chicago. So we try to reach out. So we're not able to always go to events and that sort of thing outside of Chicago, but we try to do as many webinars as possible. We try to put as much good content on our website, educational materials that professionals can share with their clients or with other professionals. So those are the types of things that we try to do, just to make resources available to people. So when those questions come up, they have a resource to turn to, not just locally here in Chicago, but all around the country.
Can you think of an example that has directly benefited one of your clients? Obviously, no names have to be involved, but maybe just a 30-second glance into a case study that you worked on.
Well, do you have one?
Yeah. So actually, a couple weeks back, we had a client invest into a real estate deal, and had the property for a small period of time, but he had it in a Roth IRA, and what that is that's post-tax dollars, so you've already paid the taxes on it. So the investment, any gains that it makes is just, it's all you. You're not going to pay taxes on it again. It is yours when you turn 59 and a half. You can do what you want with it. We had a client that made I think $100,000 or $150,000, and he sent in donuts and all kinds of breakfast because he was so excited about it. So that's good for us and them as well, because it gets them excited. It gets us excited to know that our business is helping clients.
Roth IRAs are a very powerful thing. I mean, to kind of piggyback off that, I know the client you're talking about. I kind of piggyback off that a few years ago. We had a client who used a Roth IRA. So just like Cody said, he actually had a traditional IRA where he hadn't paid tax on it. He converted it. It's a little technical, but basically he paid tax today. He had a pretty big IRA, $500,000 or $600,000 is another client I'm thinking about. So pretty big IRA. He converted that, paid tax on that, and that way he never has to pay tax on any growth ever again. Well, he used that $500,000 to buy into an apartment building. They did some renovations, and he sold it for over $1 million. And so he made several $100,000 inside a Roth IRA for which he'll never pay tax again. So those kinds of deals are really cool to see, and of course the clients are incredibly happy about the success. Those are the kinds of things that A, you probably aren't going to get in the stock market, but B, the clients really like having control over it, and they do so a lot more in a self-directed world than they do than working in Wall Street.
It's great. One thing I like to ask everyone who comes by is, whether it's related to your industry or whether it's related to entrepreneurship and kind of the big umbrella, what's one piece of advice you would give to our community when starting a business?
Well, I think there's a couple, but the one that's most important, the one I said before, is go into a niche market, be a subject matter expert. Don't try to go too broad. Really find something you're really good at, really passionate about. But the most important thing to me that I've learned is surround yourself with great people. You can hire someone or bring someone on your team that has all the skill sets, but if they don't fit in with your culture, if they don't fit in with your personality, it's not going to work. So you really need to surround yourself with great people. You do that, you're going to be set to go.
Guys, what's your website?
MidlandIRA.com.
Check out MidlandIRA.com and check out MeetAdvisors.com for more videos and blogs. Thanks for joining us,
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.